In this video, we are going to be ranking the 10 most underrated world champions in WWE history. This includes the World Heavyweight title and the WWE Championship, because there have been countless huge names, some of the biggest names in the history of the pro wrestling industry that has held these championships. However, there are others who they are always considered to be good workers, but not mega stars, not elite stars. In this video, we're going to break them down. Start off the list. Number 10, Eddie Guerrero. He had one reign as WWE champion. Why is he underrated? Well, Eddie's title run was incredible, but it was also brief. While he was remembered as a legend due to his in-ring work, his promo ability, his programs, his time with the WWE Championship, it was cut short, and he never got the chance to show a long-term reign as a top star. Now, keep in mind that Eddie Guerrero famously felt like he had so much pressure on himself to draw, and he wasn't drawing as a champion at the time, and so the decision was made, okay, we built him up for a long period of time, we had him work with Kurt Angle, we had him beat Brock for the championship, but he's not just getting it done to what we want, he's just getting it done, but not to the point, so let's take the title off of him, he's got a lot of pressure on himself, and let him be the great Eddie Guerrero, the loose, fun, having creative mind that was Eddie Guerrero, and that's why his reign was cut short, but a phenomenal wrestler. Number 9, Mark Henry. Now, he had one reign as World Heavyweight Champion. Henry's Hall of Pain run was one of the best heel acts in its time, but it came late in Henry's career, and his reign was shorter than it should have been. He was a dominant champion, a classic heel, monster-esque type champion. And despite the fact that he was a dominant champion, he never got the long-term run that he deserved. Henry was an interesting guy because he had been in the business for so long up until his World Championship reign, and it wasn't until the Hall of Pain run that he really got to show what he could do as a worker, and more importantly, as a character guy. Because while he was always someone that had various characters and various quote-unquote gimmicks, it was a classic situation in which you give Mark Henry the ball, you let him be him, a ruthless big man who knows how to get heel heat, and you let him go and run with it. And that's exactly what the Hall of Pain run was. Number 8, Big Show. He was a 2-time WWE champion and a 2-time World Heavyweight champion. Big Show is one of the most athletic big men in the history of the pro wrestling industry, yet his title reigns never quite defined him. He was often used to build up others, and his world title reigns felt brief compared to his long career. I mean, think about it. He was in WWE for over 20 years, and despite that, he was always one week he was a heel, 1 week he was a babyface. 1 week he was pushed, and the other he was doing jobs. He never felt like the guy, and some would say, well, that was a lack of interest on his part early on in his career, and I think he would say so. I mean, his weight got out of shape early on in his career, but Big Show was a guy that I think is very underrated in terms of what he was able to do in the wrestling industry. He's obviously a unique man and everything like that in terms of his look and his presence, but he never quite shaped up to what he could have been. But those WWE title reigns, and especially the world title reigns, I thought was quite fun. Here is a surprising name. Jeff Hardy. He was a 1-time WWE champion and a 2-time World Heavyweight champion. Jeff's popularity through his career was outstanding. He was one of, and still remains to be, one of the most over babyfaces in pro wrestling. And his popularity went through the roof during his title reigns, but they were often cut short. Given his crowd support and innovation in the ring, he could have had a much longer run. You look at his feuds with Jeff Hardy, Triple H in the late 2000s, obviously his world title runs with CM Punk in 2009. That run, when he came back, he obviously came back in 2006, 2007. He did his World Tag Team title reign with Matt Hardy, his brother. He went through the IC title run. He had a really good feud with Umaga. But those late years in the late 2000s, they were phenomenal, and I think they showed that he could be a main eventer. Number 6, Booker T. He had one World Heavyweight title run in WWE. Despite a legendary career in WCW, Booker T's world title run in WWE didn't receive the same level of fanfare. His King of King Booker persona was fantastic, but his world title reign, well, it felt overlooked in the grand scheme of things. Now, yes, he was a world champion multiple times in WCW, and yes, he was a pillar of the promotion later on, obviously having a phenomenal run as Harlem Heat. In WWE, though, despite the fact that he was never the top guy in the company, he was still a very utilized guy in the early 2000s. His King Booker run will go down as one of the greatest gimmick runs in the history of the business. I think it put him in a different level in WWE, and I think without that run, I don't think he would have been remembered as good as he was from WWE fans, because his WCW run showed that he could work. Number 5, Chris Jericho. He had one undisputed WWE Championship reign and a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. Now look, despite being the first ever undisputed WWE champion, beating The Rock and Stone Cold in the same exact night, well, his reigns as champions were overshadowed by larger stars like Triple H, The Rock, Steve Austin, etc. His in-ring work and character work was top-notch, but his reigns were a lack of focus throughout his career, right? He is, a 9-time, 10 times Intercontinental Champion. His feuds with Shawn Michaels, that was great. His tag team title run with the Big Show, that was phenomenal. But I don't look at Jericho as a guy that always needed the title. And I don't think Vince McMahon thought that he needed a title, or at least a world championship. So that was why he was kind of used as a utility player in a lot of ways, where if we need a main eventer, we have a main eventer. But other than that, he's going to work on the smaller side of the card. Number 4, Kane. He was a one-time WWE champion and a one-time World Heavyweight champion. Kane's longevity in WWE, well, it's respected, but his world title reigns never seemed to get to the same level of attention as other stars. His reigns were often used to elevate others, and his dominant character deserved more of a spotlight. But just like The Undertaker, he was never the guy in terms of on the marquee, in the main events, making all the media appearances because of his character, and that held him back. And that was actually quite ironic, considering Kane is now a mayor of Knox County in Tennessee, one of the brightest minds in terms of just business and finances, according to those who've been around him, and he speaks very, very well. And you would think with someone with that, the size and the way that he can talk, and think that he would have been a bigger star in WWE, but that character, it held him back a little bit, but his World Championship run's pretty good. Number 3, Rey Mysterio. He was a 2-time World Champion and a 1-time WWE Champion. While Mysterio is a beloved babyface and star, his world title reigns were not long and not highlighted as major runs. His WWE Championship reign lasted just a few hours at one point, and which diminished its impact as WWE Champion. That was the infamous situation where I think Rey Mysterio's size held him back in WWE to a certain degree. Obviously, him going on his 2006 run, where he won the Royal Rumble, he went on to WrestleMania, he won the Triple Threat with Kurt Angle, and Randy Orton won the world title in tribute of the late great Eddie Guerrero. That was probably his best run as world champion. I could not tell you his second run as world champion, and I very just briefly remember the WWE Championship run. And Rey Mysterio, I think, was also another guy that didn't necessarily need a world title because he was so over. Number 2, Dolph Ziggler, 2-time world champion. Ziggler's career has been defined by his resilience and ability to make others look good in the ring. His first major title win was married with injuries. Think about this. He won Money in the Bank. He cashed it in after WrestleMania 27 or 28. And so you look at where he went on from there, despite the fact that he had a ton of crowd support, I think shows that WWE always looked at him as a guy that, okay, he will do legitimately anything we ask. He can work his butt off. He can cut a promo, but he's never going to be the guy. I think Dolph Ziggler will go down as one of the most underrated stars in the history of the business and probably criminally underutilized in the business. And I think if there was another top-tier promotion, if AEW was around in 2013, 2014, 2015, I think Ziggler should have left, and he probably would have been a bigger star. At number 1, you knew he was going to be on the list. Christian, 2-time world champion. Christian's reigns came during a period of time when he was overshadowed by bigger stars. It's just as simply as possible. His storytelling ability and his in-ring work were superb, but his reigns was brief and often seen as a transitional, right? They decided, okay, Christian, he left, he went to TNA, he became a big star over there, he came back, he was the face of ECW brand for the longest time, even though no one cared about ECW, and then they decided, okay, after Edge retired, let's make this guy a big star, and he feuded with Randy Orton. And his matches in 2010, 2011, 2012 with Randy Orton over the course of those years were absolutely fantastic. Their SummerSlam match, that was a great one, I think, in 2011. Go back and look at those matches. They were that good, and Christian was a heck of a world champion, just didn't get the run I think that he deserved.